Is there anybody there?
What's up, Dad Hat Crew, and welcome to part 2, the final episode of my discussion about cycling. That's right, my good friend Katie was gracious enough to sit for well over an hour and talk about cycling, the sport of cycling, what it takes to be a cyclist, a professional, semi-professional here. On this episode, though, on the final one, we are discussing nutrition, training, and then, life after cycling, right? What do you do once you know that you no longer can compete at a high level in cycling? So we get into all of that in this one. But before, guys, I give you this episode, make sure you guys do me a favor, go on my YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button, go ahead and grab this episode once you listen to it, and go ahead and send it to somebody else so that way they're able to enjoy it as much as you are. All right. Now, without further ado, I'll give you the episode. All right, so I got a couple questions here, and I wanted to, what does we talked about the training, how do you balance the endurance, strength, and recovery? Like, what's your the that balance look like?
Yeah. In a typical training week, you would always have at least one recovery day, or if it had been, let's say, a super strenuous week beforehand in training and I had a long work week, then my coach was always wonderful of giving me an extra rest day whenever I needed it.
Okay.
Strength training with cycling probably should be happening more year round, but because the sport requires so much time investment on the bike during the season that a lot of cyclists spend most of their time strength training in the gym in the off season,
I got you.
which
Okay.
for us is, late fall through early winter. And people can get pretty heavy in the gym and spend a lot of time there. And then once your training really ramps up, then it's just a lot of on the bike strength training and less gym work.
Hmm. Okay. So it's like it tapes off as the season's about to start.
Right. Correct. For
Interesting.
most athletes.
Okay. All right. So nutrition plays a big role in your
Yes.
performance.
Yes.
Massive role, right?
Yes.
What does a typical cyclist, in your sport, in your
Mhm.
level, what does that
Mhm.
diet look like?
Okay, so I'll give you two different scenarios because they're
Okay.
kind of extreme opposites, I would say, or at least this is what worked really well for me.
Mhm.
Stage racing. So, for example, like a race we would do in Ireland every year was 6 days long, 7 stages.
Mhm.
And all of those stages, except for two, were long road race days with a lot of climbing. And if I was not intaking anywhere from 60 to 80 grams of carbs an hour while I'm
Mhm.
racing, starting from the beginning, then I would find myself in a situation where all of a sudden you hit the wall
Oh
and
my
you
God.
run out of glycogen stores and energy stores just in your body because those types of races, the going gets real tough, like halfway through towards the end. And if you haven't been fueling properly up until then, you kind of reach the point of no return. And then that evening, we had wonderful staff on our team who would make us food, and we ate. Like, you have to eat a lot because, if you burned, let's say, 1,500 calories or 2,000 calories in a race, and you have to make up for that, plus all the muscle damage that you're trying to repair overnight, and your body is continuing to burn calories till the next day, you're eating I mean, sometimes it's almost hard to eat enough, and you really have to train your stomach over time
Interesting.
um, before you get to race day to be able to handle that amount of food, that amount of calories, and that amount of carbs consistently for hours on time to be able to fuel yourself through races. Now, if you're doing, let's say, a 1 day crit race that's an hour long, your fueling strategy is going to be a bit different because you haven't fueled enough, right before the start or the night before, then there's really not much you can do. Let's say, you know, 45 minutes into the race and you've only got 15 minutes left. I mean, I wouldn't hardly take in many calories in just a 60-minute race because you either come prepared or not.
Yeah.
You can
At
make
that
it
point,
through
you're
or
like,
not.
yeah, you're ready or not. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like I'm fueling for the third hour that I know I'm going to be racing really hard in,
Hmm.
in a road race. I just come prepared to the start line. I might have one bottle of whatever type of fluid and electrolytes I'm intaking, and that's it for the crit race. And then
Hmm.
obviously recovering afterwards. But
Interesting.
yeah, very different fueling scenarios.
That's a lot of
It's a
like
lot.
an hour.
Yeah, it's a lot. But we had amazing nutrition sponsors where in one bottle, I could easily have 60 grams of carbs in it, and it would be
Okay.
easily digestible carbs.
Boom. But then
So
I
you're just
gotcha.
constantly drinking, always eating something, and but you do have to train your stomach to be able to take in that many carbs and that much
And
food per
yeah.
hour.
Okay. So speaking of, and I'm sorry. I apologize ahead.
Okay.
But
Oh no.
okay, this is the part that no one, but you're in the race. You gotta go. When nature calls, you gotta go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I remember one race that we were doing in Vermont where it seemed like everyone in the peloton had to use the bathroom, and we took a nature break. Like the peloton decided as a group that this was happening.
We're stopping. We're going.
Yeah, I mean, men have the ability to kind of pee off the side of their bike. Women can't really do that. But most of the time that doesn't happen. Like you just come prepared or you're chasing back on if you really have to stop.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I've always wondered.
Yeah.
I'm
That's
sure
a
a lot
good
of
question.
people a lot of people wonder the same thing too. So let's be honest about that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
I mean, if you're racing for 3 or 4 hours, it's a fair question, but most of the time, like, I don't know. You just
just
come prepared.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you're burning so much calories. Yeah, like that point, you're like,
Oh,
like
you're sweating so much that no matter how much liquid I took in, at the end of some of these long races where it was not even have to be that particularly hot, but you're just working so hard, I was still felt dehydrated at the end, even though I'd had 5 bottles,
yeah.
of fluid.
Okay. I have a quick couple of questions here now, and I want to move on to your mental aspect of this
Uh-huh.
because you have to train your mind
You do.
to
Mm-hmm.
do all of this. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like how do you handle those psychological demands of racing? Because
Yeah,
that's a lot.
it is. Cycling is, I think, uniquely psychologically hard
Mhm.
at the pro level if you're doing stage racing because it is day in and day out, and you're on the bike for, like I said, 3 or 4 hours for each of the races. And we did have a sports psychologist that
Oh, wow.
helped our team 1 full year, and then for half of a year, the following year after that, that taught you how to really focus your mind away from what is happening within your body because not many sports are going to have you racing for 5 or 6 days back to back, all out
Mhm.
for many hours. And so it can wear on you if you are unable to put your mind in a positive space and try to not focus on how much your body is hurting. And for me, instead, I would focus on other small goals I would have throughout the race. So let's say I needed to be on the front of the peloton at this point in the race because I'm going to work for my teammate
Right.
as much as I can. Or um, I don't know. A lot of times too, I just found that there was so much going on around me, and I
Hmm.
would try and stay away from people that I knew were super unsafe
Yeah.
for me to be around. Like I didn't want to crash.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would take my mind away from just how hard it was. But for me too, I will never forget my coach Emma telling me to don't be afraid of big mountain climbs like when you would get to it, because for me that was always where my mind would start to freak out because I'm just not
Hmm.
I mean, I'm not the best climber. I'm super tall. I don't weigh 100 pounds because I'm not 5'1".
Yeah.
Like these small girls are gonna fly past me. But she said you can climb, and you have to make them drop you. Don't just give up. You make people drop you. Like
Hmm.
you go all in. And that mindset helped me so much on big climbs that I was going to be with these people until they literally, like, I'm going to make you drop me. And so, small things like that were super helpful for me. But every athlete who has their own different type of mental challenges based on their strengths, I'm sure have
Sure.
a ton of different strategies to get them through hard race days.
Did you do did throughout the training and during racing and all that? Did you do any kind of meditation? Are you one
Oh,
of those that believe in meditating?
I probably should have. We had a girl on the team one year that was really good at it, and she would be super zen and in her own space. And she now is a phenomenal cyclist.
Really?
Yeah, she's great. She did a lot of racing in Europe, and she actually got to race the Vuelta one year. Um, and so she was really good at it. I never was. I probably should have tried. I was a person that's going to be jamming out to some loud music in my headphones before I got
Yeah,
into some race.
yeah, it's not for everybody, right? It
Yeah,
really isn't. So that's
yeah,
cool though. I mean, La Vuelta, that's a Spanish race, correct?
yes, correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
See,
correct.
I'm learning some stuff. See? Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay, so and just to put it into what other people will understand as well is in normal races, not normal, I'm sorry, in professional races like in the Tour, in La Vuelta, in Tour Down Under, and things like that, there's always a bunch of cars all the way in the back, right?
yes,
And those are
yes.
your coaches and all that. Did you have that as well?
We did,
Okay.
yes. We were lucky enough to have team car, team directors, people that were just helping out the team, giving feeds. And the last year that I actually helped run the team, I was also in the team car, helping
Okay.
out our star athletes.
We're going to talk about that here in a second, but
Yes,
a lot of the strategy goes on in the car. Like you guys are there's discussion going on in the car about the strategy throughout the race of okay,
absolutely. Yep. Because in a lot of the big stage races, you're allowed to have a mic in your ear, and so your team car can be talking to you.
okay,
And also, um, the different race officials that would be on motorcycles in the race, if someone on our team needed something and you're not the first car in the line of team cars, so you can't see what's going on, they're going to be communicating with us of what we need to do to help our rider.
hmm,
So there's a lot going on in the team car.
interesting. So okay, all right, I like that.
Yeah.
That's yeah. Again, these are the little things that no one really knows about because you guys are. It's such a different world than a
Yeah.
normal person like myself because you guys are all superhuman. That able to do these stage races, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't do that.
And if you think about it too, if you're racing for 4 hours, you are unable to carry enough nutrition in your kit and on your bike to get you
Correct.
through that race. And so you rely on your team car to help you throughout the race.
So you have someone going back
Absolutely.
get the
Hmm.
stuff and then come back in, and then
Correct.
I got you.
Yep.
And then the drafting, right? Because like I mean, you can go into cars and all that. How long is that? How long can you stay behind that one car drafting?
Yeah, so you're allowed to hop from car to car to get back up to the main peloton.
Mhm,
If you're in like the cavalcade of cars,
mhm,
then as long as you're moving up, once you're done at your team car,
mhm.
then there's really no like set rule. You can't just, if they
Don't
see you,
stay back there. Yeah.
yeah, if you're like sitting back there just taking a 5-10 minute break, you're going to get
Yeah.
in trouble for that. But if you're moving up and they see that you're actively trying to move up, then that's all that really matters.
Okay. That's pretty cool. I like that.
Hmm.
How big was your team?
So we had a team of 6 and 7 girls at one point.
Oh wow. So
Yes.
pretty big team.
Yeah, I mean, I would say we were more of like a medium-sized team because we gave so much support with flights, kits, bikes, I mean, you name it,
Mhm.
and all the team staff and flying the team staff wherever we were going, that uh, it's expensive.
Yeah.
Cycling is incredibly expensive. And we get, the Airbnb that we'd stay at, we buy all the food, we get the rental car, the gas, I mean, you name it. And so because we wanted to operate our team as closely to a pro team as possible, we couldn't support, say, 15 or 20 girls like
Mhm.
some other teams may have. We had a smaller group of select girls that we felt could work really well together that we could fully support throughout the season.
Interesting. I like that.
Yes.
Okay. So that's actually not bad at all. Um, so technology, because that plays a big, huge part now
Yeah.
in cycling. And not
Hmm.
just technology like, electronics or anything like that, but like technology in the bike, because the bikes
Yeah.
have become so different
Yeah.
than what they used to be. They're so lightweight.
Hmm.
I know, and they may not do this in your races, but I know in some of the races, like the tour and things like that, that they actually have to put actual weights on to meet a certain weight restriction, I guess.
Yep. And I never had this problem because I ride a large bike because I am so tall. And it's naturally going to weigh more than a small bike. But some women who ride super tiny bikes would have to
Mhm.
put a weight somewhere on their bike to make it legal.
Huh.
Yeah, I did not have that problem. But a lot of road bikes these days that used to be like standard geometry with what we would call round tubing. So,
Mhm.
how the bike frame were made out of round tubes. A lot of road bikes these days are made out of more aerodynamic geometry and aerodynamic tubing so
Mhm.
that, I mean, including the wheels, the tires, your handlebars, helmet, skin suit, everything is super aero and incredibly faster than technology from 10 years ago.
Mhm.
I mean, some of the road bikes are
And they're
so
carbon
aero that
fiber.
they're like almost time trial bikes with road cycling geometry. They're so
Jesus.
fast. Yeah.
And they're carbon fiber framing. Well, most
Yes.
of the
Yeah.
even the wheels are carbon fiber nowadays.
Hmm. Yep. They all are. If you're going to be racing like some top end uh, road bikes, everything's carbon fiber,
Yeah. God, I'm so
including
jealous.
the bottle cages, everything.
Even the
Yes,
well,
even the
yeah,
bottle cages.
yeah, you got it was all I'm sure, and even the bottle cages were designed specifically so that way it was aerodynamic, that everything fit together.
Yep. Yep. Everything's aero these days. Aero is everything.
I really would like to see how an engineering team goes through the whole process of, because like I mean, everything had to be fitted specifically for one, rider.
Right.
So seeing that process of like, all right, we're gonna get you as aerodynamic as we can. We need you to come into the wind tunnel and then do all this experiment.
Yeah. I wish I could have gone into a wind tunnel because me being so tall,
Yeah.
I am sure that there was something I could have tweaked on my bike to be more aerodynamic, but we weren't, our team was not lucky enough to get into a wind tunnel, but a lot of athletes do get to do that, which is super cool.
That is super cool.
Yeah.
You said something that I wanted to ask you as far as tweaking, some things here and there. Like obviously, also position. You worked on
Hmm.
positioning yourself a lot all the time. I'm
Hmm.
sure that was a constant thing to do.
Hmm. Yes. So it took me a while to get the most efficient position on the bike that I mean, I probably had the same position on my bike maybe the last couple of years, but
Mhm.
if you're in a race position, I mean, you think about a lot of cyclists riding down the street, they're pretty like upright. But if you're racing, I mean, you're really down low because
Yeah,
you
you're.
want to be as this is super not
I
aerodynamic
know,
at
like you're just.
all.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot of core, takes a lot of back muscles, takes a lot of upper body strength, like everything you can think of to be able to hold a super aero race position. So over time, I know my fit definitely changed, especially as the bikes changed.
Mm,
But it was something that I tweaked for a long while.
interesting. All right, I
Yeah.
got a couple more questions for you because I'm finding this super fascinating.
Good,
If
I'm
you
glad.
Yeah, because well, I mean, let's be honest. Like a lot of people don't really get to see or hear these things nowadays. Like they just
Mhm.
see cycling, they're like, "Oh my god, they're super fast. They can do
Yeah.
this," but they don't know what the work that you have to put in,
Right.
to get to be like, "Yep, that's a fast person."
Yep. Hmm.
So, so just like every sport, in my favorite sport, there was huge controversy when it comes to doping and all that. I'm sure
Oh
this is
yeah.
also a big part, a big no-no, and the things that you guys don't talk about. But doping is part of the sport as well in cycling.
Hmm. Yeah.
How is that managed? Is it managed at your level? And is it noticeable? Obviously,
Yes, it absolutely is managed because there have been some big doping controversies in cycling over the years. And, at your local races, small regional local races, there's not going to be any sort of doping control.
yeah.
But at your big national events, if you're on the podium, you are getting tested. And they also will randomly pull race numbers for people to come and get tested. So a lot of people are being tested, and this is every day.
Hmm.
And I was at a race where the winner was found to be doping. This was,
Oh.
yeah, back in 2019, I believe. And so they do find those people. And you can also, if you have good evidence and reason to suspect that some athlete is doping, you can also report that to USA Cycling and they can do an out of competition test.
And that has happened.
That definitely has happened. Hmm. Yeah.
So
So
you
they're
got
really trying to crack down on it.
I was gonna say, you guys are also policing your own sport as well.
Yeah. Some people do.
Some
I mean,
people some people
sometimes
are
it's
like, "Nah."
it's pretty noticeable, but a lot of the people that get reported to USA Cycling, this might sound bad, but it's going to be like maybe the older men that are racing in the masters category that are just
Yeah.
still trying to live it up like you're 20. You can't race like that anymore, so you're doping.
Yeah.
Uh, and you don't have to be in the pro fields to get drug tested.
Okay, so, see, now I'm going into the weeds here. So doping, what does that look like in your sport? Obviously, you have,
I did not. Yes,
no, no, no,
I
no, not you, no, but I'm talking
no.
about, like, Is it blood transfusions? Is it, injections? What did a lot of those people get caught with?
Oh gosh, I mean, there are so many ways that people can dope these days. And there's also ways that people could get caught doping without even realizing it. Like I found out that if you drink too many Red Bulls, you can have something in your system.
Shut up.
Um, yeah, that's technically like illegal and you could get caught doping. Uh, yeah, so like my husband won a big race one time where he had to go through a doping test, and they made him pee in a cup, and they test for all different kinds of things.
Sure.
What they test for, I mean, I don't know everything
Who knows at this
specifically,
point?
but I mean, there's a million ways. I'm sure, like at the super world tour level, there's probably some questionable things that are going on that we don't even
Mm,
know
yeah.
is possible, like, in our world.
Oh God,
So,
what was that one cyclist from? God.
who, Lance Armstrong, the
No,
biggest
not
doper?
yeah, biggest
Oh,
doper of all time. Yeah, no, it was after him. He was racing with him, but oh my lord, it was from Team Astana. Oh God, what was his name? The name is escaping me now.
oh,
Then he blamed it on steak. It was a Spanish
why can't
racer.
I know, why can't I think of his name? Because we watched a documentary with him in it not that long ago.
Oh, see, I love
Uh,
documentaries.
if my husband was here, he would know. I know what you're talking about.
I know you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. There's all different ways people can try and dope in this sport. And because it's so uniquely challenging, especially at that level where you're racing for 21 days,
Yeah,
max effort at some point in all of those days, people are looking for any way to gain an advantage and trying to push the limits with things that may not be illegal at the time, but
yeah.
then at some point becomes illegal.
My God, I can't remember the name now, and it's gonna really make me mad because it's like I remember it was a Spanish guy, and then
Yeah.
he was caught doping. I can't remember his name, but I'll find it. Don't you
Yeah.
worry. Okay. So, when did you know? Right, this is the part where you're like, okay, my career is coming
Oh, yeah. An end. The
an
time has
end.
come.
Yeah, it's like it's time
Yeah.
for me to hang it up.
Yeah. Um,
Did you realize it? When did you realize it? And like, what was that? What did you go through all that when that realization finally came?
I probably should have stopped a year earlier, I will say.
Yeah.
Looking back at it now, there were a couple of things that really pushed me to decide it was time to stop and instead of racing, help manage a team. Um, the last 2 years, I I didn't realize at the time that I was racing with full blown Epstein Barr viral infection, which um, happens from stress. And I'm
Really?
sure, yeah, the stress of cycling plus our former workplace that shall not be mentioned
Yeah.
had probably a big play into that. And so a
Yeah.
lot of a lot of race days, you know, I can't explain how awful I felt and how much harder I would have to work to output the power that I wanted. And then when I was racing the national crit race one year, I had a tachycardia event, which is where my heart spiked to like I think it was 225 is what they said in the medical
What?
tent, and they had to do some crazy things for it to my heart rate to regulate. And then I went to a cardiologist and wore a heart monitor for a while. And I mean, I basically found out that I needed to take in a lot more electrolytes because I'm just aging. I'm getting older. Like I don't function like I'm 25 anymore. And, my husband and I, we also wanted to start our own family. And it's really those three things over the course of 2 years that made me realize that it was time. I had fun. I loved what I did. And I just couldn't, I started to not be able to recover as well as I used to because I was
Mhm.
just, well, it was a lot of the Epstein-Barr viral infection, but I was just
Yeah, it's just
getting
you
older.
knew at that point. It's like my body can't handle this.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun, but that's when I decided it was time to move on.
Okay, all right. So but then you moved on from the participating, like as far as like the actual racing, but you really didn't move on from racing. Still, though, you were then at that point you were managing the team.
Yes, I
How
was
that work?
helping to manage the team.
How was that?
It was great. So cycling gave so much to my life,
Mhm,
and enriched it in so many ways. And I've met so many wonderful people and traveled to so many cool places. And it gave me real direction in my life a lot of times when I really needed direction, that I wanted to give back to the sport and continue to help up and coming athletes who wanted to
mhm,
dabble in stage racing and really be treated as much of a as much of like a pro as we could. And
yeah.
so I helped manage our team. I got a lot of the sponsorship money brought into the team, and I'd be in the team car helping girls. I would help any way I could in team housing afterwards. I did a lot of the social media for the team, for a lot of our sponsors, and just did whatever I could to help some girls who were super talented.
Mhm. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Uh, Let me ask you this, and then I'll let you go because we've been here for over an hour. But I could keep
Oh,
asking
sorry.
questions. I got questions galore, girl. Don't you worry. I got questions on questions. But you say something is the sponsorship like did the sponsors approach you guys? Did you guys approach the sponsors? Like how does that work?
So we had a big sponsorship deck that we would hand out to different companies that we would love to partner with.
Mhm,
And our sponsorship deck would talk about, the team, our culture, how your investment is going to help athletes, what you're going to get out of the investment. And we would approach companies, individuals, product sponsors, that we would want to be involved with. And if they were interested and saw a potential fit, then me and the team owner Shane were the main ones who would sit down and have sponsorship talks with them and negotiate basically what the deal would be for them to
mhm.
come on board to support the team.
Gotcha. And then their fancy name will go on the kit.
Absolutely. On the kit, all over social media, on our website. I mean, depending on what level of sponsorship they signed up for, or if it was a large sponsorship, because we did have some very large sponsors, we would customize a plan for them to get what they wanted out of the team as well as what we did too.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
See, again, the things that no one tells you about.
There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes to get sponsors for the
Then
team.
no one knows about.
Yeah. Because it takes a lot of communication before you get really big sponsors on board because it's not as large of a sport like baseball that's just super televised and
Mhm.
you get a lot of viewership through TV. That's not really a part of cycling,
At least
other
here in
than
the
live
US.
streams, yeah, that are for some races. So we had to become creative in ways that we would partner with our big money sponsors.
I, I wished it would be a lot more popular here in the
Right.
US because it's such a fascinating sport. Like I said
Mhm.
at the beginning, I said, it's like, I won't retain anything. I'm lying. Obviously, I'm a fan of this sport. I really am.
Yeah.
Because I find it so fascinating that to see these athletes that have these God-given abilities to do what I cannot do. It's simple truth. I can't. I mean,
Yeah.
I love it. I wish I could. I already have 2 bad knees. I'm already out. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I'm done.
Yeah. Well, I tried playing softball one year and I was not very good at it. So I'm not good at baseball, softball. Like I found I was very uncoordinated with objects coming towards my body. So I
I was
just
like,
rode a
I
bike
don't like
that I was
this. I don't like
on.
give me a bike. Give me a bike. I don't
Yeah.
like this.
Yeah.
But I wish they'd also that a lot of these cycling events were not behind a paywall, right?
Yeah.
So that way people can enjoy it because I mean,
Mhm.
you go to Europe and then it's everywhere. It's everywhere.
I know. I know. The investment in Europe, but also just the cost of racing in Europe is significantly less than the cost of racing
It's
in the
true.
US.
Because of the popularity, right? Here in the
Yeah.
US, it's like this is an elite sport. You're gonna have to pay for this.
Well, and it seems like when we were in Europe, the communities where the races are happening just really get behind the sport and the race and
Mhm,
help make it happen. Whereas here in America, it's like, hey, you got to pay up for us to make this happen. So it's a totally different culture in Europe than
mhm.
compared to America.
One of these days we'll get
I
there.
know,
Well,
hopefully.
yeah, I know, right? One of these
Yeah.
days. I still have hope that we can. Um, so are you done with that part of the world now? Have you just hung it up? You're retired. You're done with.
I mean, I couldn't ride while I was pregnant, and
No,
just
yeah,
had
that's
my
a
baby, and so I have ridden the trainer a few times now that I'm able to, and I would like to do some gravel racing again whenever I can, whenever my daughter's a little bit older and I get a little bit more freedom.
yeah. Good
Road
luck with that.
racing, yeah, I'm probably not going to do much road racing. Gravel racing is like a party on dirt. It's super fun style of racing, and it's not quite so serious.
Okay.
It's also not quite so dangerous.
But
So
but that's the thing. People think I've seen it and it looks fun.
it
You
is,
know.
yeah, yeah. I've done some gravel racing. It's very fun, and if you crash, I mean, typically your crash is not going to be nearly as bad as in a road race or a crit race. There's a lot of dirt, a lot of grass.
Yeah.
I mean, you there can be some awful crashes, but
Yes.
I would love to do that, maybe a couple of years in the future, but I'm not done riding. When I can get outside and ride again, I'm definitely going to.
Love it. Love it. All right. Is there anything that I haven't asked you? Because I think I've asked you a lot of questions here, and we could be here for another hour because I have a whole bunch more. Um,
Yeah, I would just say if you are listening to this podcast and you are in a city where you have a criterium race that is near you, because they do happen all over the US all summer long, go to it. They are so fun. There's loud music usually. The announcers are great. They're funny. There's always beer.
I'm waiting for
And
that.
it's like I said, it's like NASCAR on bikes or a spandex rodeo, like a lot of people call it. And
What?
it's super fun to watch. They go all day long with various levels of racing throughout the day, with the pros racing last. I promise you, you will have fun watching it, and you'll be surprised at what you will witness, especially towards the end of the race when people are going all out to win. So just go see it if you see that there's a criterium or a bike race near you.
I think there's actually one here in Raleigh, North Carolina. So there's that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and there's one in oh gosh, I don't think Winston-Salem is that far away from you guys, right? Because
No, 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 no.
there's a big one there at Winston-Salem too.
This Winston-Salem from me is about, I want to say about an hour and a half, 2 hours from here.
Yeah,
So
I mean, they have a huge race there.
do they?
Yes.
I was like, yes, I do know. I've been there.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Uh, okay. Thanks so much for doing this, Katie.
absolutely.
Where can people find you on socials if they want to follow you? Because I know you got your own business going on right now. So actually, you know what? What is your business now?
I currently run an Airbnb. that
Nice.
we own. Yes, here in Columbia, South Carolina.
All right, so there you go.
Yes,
You are very busy. You're a
very
mom
busy.
and you're running your own business. That's awesome. I love that. Thank you so
Yes.
much.
Yep.
And I don't know, for the people that are listening to this podcast, I want to ask you guys now. I've done tennis, I've done cycling. What is the next sport that you guys want me to look into so I can interview them and so I can learn more about other sports other than your typical basketball, football, baseball? Because I mean, there's so many sports out here in the US that
So many.
I know, right? I kind of want
Mhm.
to have someone who does not tennis. I already did tennis. Maybe golf, or pickleball. Pickle.
Swimming, because we have so many
Oh,
Americans that are good at swimming.
it's true story. That is true.
Yeah.
Skiing.
Yeah, that too. Uh-huh.
So there you go. See, we're going to get some people on this podcast that are other sports. So again, thank you, Katie, and for you guys on the podcast. If you want me to look at any other sport, put it in the comments. Make sure you let me know. Otherwise, make sure you're following me on all of the socials, Dad Hat 216, or look up for Dad Hat Chronicles as well as on YouTube. And we will see you guys on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.
This podcast is part of the Curved Brim Media Network. Here are some of the other members of Curved Brim Media.
Hi, this is Kelly Robinson, the Minor League Nerd. My YouTube channel explores the history of minor league baseball teams. More than just stats, we delve into team lineage, sharing stories from current franchises to obscure one-year wonders.
I'm Paul Caputo, and on the Baseball by Design podcast, I talk to minor league baseball teams, designers, and other super interesting people about what these minor league baseball logos mean, and I talk a little bit about ice cream helmets.
What's up, Bucketheads? I'm Anna DiTomaso, and each week on the Baseball Bucket List podcast, I speak with a different fan about their favorite baseball memories, what the game means to them, and what's left to check off on their baseball bucket list.
Hey everyone, it's Eric from the great state of Kansas.
This is Johnny from the New Orleans Baby Cakes Memorial Museum,
And we are the Earn Fun Average podcast,
where we talk to a variety of guests about their love of baseball and have fun doing it.
America, lower your standards.
Average is what we do best.
This is Patrick
and Corey
of BaseballMapper.com, and we have made an interactive map to help highlight all baseball teams from the majors down to collegiate summer leagues.
We want to bring you closer to baseball, so get on the site and find a team near you today.
Hey guys, this is Patrick Larson from the Minor League Baseball Hat History Series, and in every episode I go through the history of minor league teams through my personal collection of hats. You can find me on Twitter at @PatLarson1. I hope you guys enjoy.
Learn more about Curved Brim Media at curvedbrimmedia.com.